The desert was supposed to kill her. That was what they believed when they threw her away. Morning fog lay heavy over the Texas plains, wrapping the land in pale gray and dull gold. The sun had barely risen, and the world felt quiet in a way that made pain louder. A woman crawled through thorny brush, dragging herself inch by inch across the dry earth. Her name was Maeve Hollis. Though she barely remembered it anymore, her wedding dress hung from her body in torn pieces, stained with dust and dried blood. The white cloth that once meant promise now meant nothing at all. Every movement tore her skin again. Thorns ripped at her arms. Rocks cut into her knees. Her wrists burned where ropes had once been tied too tight. The skin split open and raw dot her. Back hurt the most. Pain pulsed there with every breath. A word had been burned into her flesh by a heated iron. A word meant to follow her even into death. Worthless. Her throat was dry and cracked. Her lips were swollen, bleeding from thirst. She did not know how long she had been crawling. Time stopped, meaning anything when they pushed her from the wagon and laughed as they rode away. Let the coyotes finish her. One of them had said, "No one will miss a worthless woman." Maeve collapsed beside a jagged stone, its small shadow offering little relief from the rising heat. Her body shook, but no sound came out. She had cried until there were no tears left. Above her, dark shapes circled slowly in the sky. Vultures. They had been waiting since yesterday. She pressed her face into the dirt and whispered a prayer she no longer believed in. She had tried. She had tried to be a good wife, tried to cook the meals right, tried to stay quiet, tried to obey. None of it had been enough. "Please," she whispered to the empty sky. "Just let it end." Then she heard hooves. Fear cut through her like ice. They had come back. Her husband had decided leaving her to die was not enough punishment. Panic gave her a burst of strength. She dragged herself deeper into the thorn bushes, branches tearing her skin as she tried to hide. But something was wrong. The sound was different, lighter, steady, not the rough, careless riding. She knew so. Well, through swollen eyes, she saw a rider moving across the prairie with ease, as if he belonged to the land itself. He sat straight and balanced, not stiff like the men she feared. The rider was Apache. His name was Skyle. He had been tracking a missing mare since before sunrise. The pregnant horse had slipped away during the night, and he could not afford to lose her. His trail had led him across familiar ground, past limestone ridges and into low grasslands where fog still clung to the earth. He almost missed it. A flash of white tangled in brown thorns. At first, he thought it was cloth torn from a settler's wagon. Then it moved. Skyle reined in his paint horse sharply. His hand went to the knife at his belt as he dismounted, moving slowly. What he saw made his chest tighten. A woman lay broken in the brush, barely alive. Her dress told a story no words could soften. Rope marks cut into her wrists. Bruises covered her skin. And the way she tried to make herself smaller when she saw him spoke louder than any scream. Skyle had seen cruelty before. He knew its shape. He crouched a few steps away, keeping his movements calm and open. One of her eyes was swollen shut. The other watched him with pure terror. Her lips moved. "Please," she whispered, "make it quick." He understood English well enough, but it was not the words that struck him. It was the surrender in her voice. "I won't hurt you," Skyle said quietly. She flinched anyway. "You need water," he continued. "I can help." Slowly, he lifted his water skin so she could see it. Maeve's mind swam with fever and fear. But something inside her still wanted to live. Her trembling hands reached out. The water burned her throat as she drank. A broken sob escaped her chest. "Slow," Skyle said gently. "Too much will make you sick." When he pulled the water, skin away, she did not fight him. She simply cried. No one had ever stopped themselves for her sake before. "Kill me," she whispered. "I'm not worth saving." Skyle studied her injuries, his jaw tight. This was not the work of bandits. This was the work of someone who believed they owned another human being. "What is your name?" he asked. She blinked, confused by the question. "Maeve Hollis," she said faintly. "Or maybe nothing." "You are alive," Skyle replied. "That is enough for today." The choice settled inside him then. He could leave her. Peace with nearby settlements was fragile. Taking a white woman into his camp could bring trouble, but leaving her here would be the same as killing her himself. "Can you ride?" he asked. She shook her head weakly. "I will carry you," he said. "My camp is close." "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. Skyle looked out over the wide prairie, mist thinning as the sun climbed higher. "Because you asked for death," he said, "but your spirit is still fighting to live." He lifted her carefully, mindful of the wounds on her back, and placed her in front of him on the horse. She leaned against his chest, too tired to keep. Fearing as they rode, the land behind them faded. The tracks she had crawled into the dust disappeared beneath the wind. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Maeve Hollis felt something she did not recognize at first, not hope. The ride lasted longer than Maeve expected. The pain in her body dulled as exhaustion pulled her in and out of awareness. Sometimes she felt the steady rise and fall of the horse beneath her. Other times she drifted into darkness only to wake again to the warmth of a steady heartbeat behind her and the scent of leather and sage. When she opened her eyes again, the light had changed. The sun was lower now, casting gold across the land. She heard voices soft, unfamiliar in the low crackle of fire. They had reached a camp. Maeve stirred, panic flaring until she felt strong hands steady her. Skyle dismounted carefully and lifted her down as if she weighed nothing at all. She expected pain, fear, shouting. Instead, she heard calm voices and footsteps approaching, measured and cautious. People surrounded her, not crowding, but watching with concern. Women in long dresses, men with weathered faces, children peeking from behind their mothers. Their eyes held curiosity, not cruelty. "She's hurt," someone said. "Badly," another replied. A woman with silver-streaked hair stepped forward. Her presence was firm, commanding, yet gentle. She studied Maeve's injuries with practiced eyes. "Bring her inside," the woman said. Carefully, Maeve tried to speak, but her voice failed. Darkness pressed in at the edges of her vision as hands lifted her again, this time with purpose and care. She felt warmth beneath her as she was laid onto soft furs. The scent of herbs filled the air. The woman leaned close. "My name is Ashara," she said. "You are safe here." Safe, the word felt foreign. Maeve wanted to believe it, but fear had lived in her. Two long, warm hands cleaned the blood from her skin. Cool water soothed the raw places. Someone cut away the ruined dress with care, never once letting their touch linger where it did not belong. Maeve trembled through it all, bracing for pain that did not come. When the cloth was removed from her back, there was a sharp intake of breath around her. The silence that followed was heavy. What was done to her? A woman whispered. Ishar's voice was steady but tight. Cruelty. Maeve closed her eyes. She could feel the burn of the scar even without seeing it. The word carved into her skin had been meant to mark her forever. Ishar's hands were gentle. As she cleaned the wound, "This will take time to heal," she said softly, "but it will heal." Maeve shook her head weakly. "It's not just my body." "I know," Ishara replied. "We will tend to that too." Later, when the worst of the pain had eased, Maeve drifted in and out of sleep. Voices moved around her. Someone placed a cool cloth on her forehead. Another brushed her hair from her face. She woke again to the sound of children laughing outside. The sound startled her, felt wrong, almost unreal. Laughter did not belong in her world. She tried to sit up and winced. "Easy," came a familiar voice. Skyle stood near the entrance, arms folded loosely. He looked relieved to see her awake. "Where am I?" she asked quietly. "My people's camp," he replied. "You are safe here." She hesitated. "Your people. They don't want me here. They don't know you yet," he said simply. "But they will." Her throat tightened. "Why are you doing this?" He considered the question before answering. "Because leaving you there would have made me no better than the men who hurt you." Maeve looked away. She didn't know how. To accept kindness without paying for it, hours passed. The sun dipped lower. Women came and went, bringing broth, clean cloth, gentle hands. No one asked her for anything. No one demanded gratitude. That night, as firelight danced across the lodge walls, Maeve stirred again. The pain had dulled, replaced by exhaustion so deep it felt like sinking into warm water. She heard voices outside Skyle and an older woman. "She will live," the woman said. "But her spirit has been crushed. That will take longer to mend." "She is strong," Skyle replied. "She survived things that would have killed many." "Yes," the woman said softly. "But survival is not the same as living." Maeve lay still, listening. For the first time, she felt something shift inside her. Not hope exactly, but the faintest stirring of possibility. Later, when the camp quieted and the fire burned low, Skyle returned. He sat near the entrance, not intruding, just present. "You can rest," he said. "No one will harm you here." She studied his face in the firelight. "Why are you helping me?" she asked again. He met her gaze. "Because someone once helped me when I had nothing." Because pain should not be answered with cruelty. She swallowed hard. "I don't even know your name, Skyle," he said. "And yours, Maeve?" she whispered. "Maeve Hollis." He nodded, as if committing it to memory. "Rest, Maeve Hollis." As sleep claimed her, the words echoed. In her mind, for the first time in a long while, her name did not feel like a curse. Outside, the night deepened. The wind carried the smell of sage and smoke. And somewhere beyond the circle of firelight, the world waited uncertain, dangerous, but no longer entirely hopeless. The woman who had been left to die was still breathing, and for the first time, she was not alone. The night passed quietly, but Maeve did not truly sleep. She drifted in and out of shallow dreams. Her mind filled with fragments of firelight, the sound of hooves, a man's voice calling her name. Each time she woke, she half expected to find herself back in the dirt, abandoned and broken. But every time, she found the same soft furs beneath her, the same steady warmth around her, the same safety she still did not fully trust. Morning came gently. Light filtered through the lodge opening, painting the interior in gold. Maeve opened her eyes to the smell of herbs steeping in water. Ishara sat nearby, crushing leaves with a stone, her movements calm and practiced. "You slept," the old woman said without looking up. "That is good." Maeve nodded, her throat tight. "I didn't think I would." "Sleep is the body remembering how to live," Ishara replied. "Yours has not done so in a long time." Maeve tried to sit up. Pain flared, but it was different now, duller, manageable. Ishara helped her slowly, adjusting the furs behind her back. "You will stay here," the elder said, "until you are strong enough to choose where you go." Maeve hesitated. "And if I don't know where that is?" Ishara met her eyes. "Then you stay until you do." The words wrapped around her like a promise. Outside, life moved on. Children laughed. Someone sang while grinding grain. The world had not ended just because hers had once shattered. Later that morning, Skyle returned with a bowl of broth. He knelt beside her and handed it over without a word. Maeve sipped carefully, the warmth spreading through her chest. "I heard you spoke to the elders," she said. "Yes." "What did they decide?" "That you are under our protection," he replied. "No one may take you by force. Not now, not ever." Her hands trembled around the bowl. "And if they come for me?" "Then they will answer to all of us." She searched his face for doubt and found none. Only quiet resolve. The days that followed moved gently, like a slow river. Maeve learned the rhythms of the camp. She learned the names of herbs and the stories behind them. She learned which children laughed the loudest and which ones watched silently from the edges. She learned that kindness here was not loud or performative. Was simply given, her strength returned little by little. She learned to walk without pain, then to help with simple tasks: grinding herbs, sorting hides. Carrying water every morning, she traced the edge of the scar on her back, not with hatred, but with acknowledgement. It was part of her now, but it did not define her. One afternoon, she found Skyle by the river, sharpening a blade. He looked up as she approached. "You're walking better," he said. "I am," she replied. "Thanks to you," he shook his head. "You did the work." "I only stood nearby." She hesitated, then spoke. "Do you ever regret helping me?" Skyle considered the question carefully. "No," he said. "Some choices shape who we become. I would make this one again." She nodded, her gaze drifting to the water. "I don't know what I'll do next." "You don't have to know yet," he said. "Healing does not demand answers, only patience." Silence settled between them, comfortable and unforced. That evening, the elders gathered. Maeve was invited to sit among them, not behind, not apart, but within the circle. It was the first time she truly felt included. Ishara spoke. "You have suffered much, but suffering alone does not define a person. What you choose after it does." Maeve listened, heart pounding. "You may stay with us," Ishara continued. "Learn our ways, heal, or, when you are ready, you may leave and walk your own path. The choice is yours." No one had ever offered her a choice before. Tears slid down her cheeks, but she did not wipe them away. "I would like to stay," she said softly, "at least for now." A gentle murmur of approval rippled through the group. Days turned into weeks. Maeve grew stronger. She learned to ride without fear. She learned to defend herself. She learned the names of stars and plants and winds. She learned that pain did not have to define her future. Sometimes she still woke from nightmares. When she did, someone was always there, an older woman with tea, a child offering a carved toy, or Skyle sitting quietly outside her shelter. Guarding the night, one evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the land in amber, Maeve stood at the edge of the camp and watched the horizon. Skyle joined her. "You're different now," he said. "So are you," she replied. He smiled faintly. "Maybe we changed each other." She looked at him, then not with fear. Not with uncertainty, but with clear eyes and a steady heart. "I'm not broken anymore," she said. "I know," he answered. The wind stirred, carrying the scent of sage and earth. The past still existed, but it no longer owned her. She had survived. She had chosen to live, and for the first time, she believed she truly could. The woman who had been cast aside in the desert was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone who belonged, someone who endured, someone who was finally free. The seasons turned quietly after that. Spring softened into summer, and summer gave way to long, warm evenings filled with laughter and smoke from cooking fires. Maeve learned the rhythm of the land, the way one learns a heartbeat slowly at first. Then, without thinking, she rose with the sun, worked beside the others. and slept beneath a sky so full of stars it felt like a promise written in light. She was no longer treated as a guest, she was family. Children ran to her when they scraped their knees. Women sought her help with herbs and stitching. Even the elders listened when she spoke, her voice no longer hesitant, but steady and sure. The scars on her back had faded to pale lines, no longer raw, no longer angry. They were part of her story. Now, not the end of it. And Skyle? He was always there, never pressing, never demanding, only present. Some evenings they sat together in quiet companionship, watching the sun fall behind the hills. Other nights, they spoke of everything and nothing of childhood memories, of dreams half forgotten, of the lives they might build. But one truth hung between them, unspoken yet undeniable. The past had not finished with her. The warning came one morning with the arrival of a rider from a neighboring band. His horse was lathered, his breath ragged. "They're moving again," he said. Men with rifles, not just settlers. Hired guns. The camp stilled. Maeve felt the air leave her lungs. "They're asking for you." The messenger continued, looking at her with something close to sorrow. "They say the man you escaped from has put a price on your return, dead or alive." Silence fell like a blade. Skyle's jaw tightened. How far out? 2 days, maybe less. A heavy stillness followed. Then voices rose, some angry, some fearful, some resolute. Maeve stood motionless, the weight of it pressing into her chest. "This is my doing," she said at last. "I won't let you bleed for me." Skyle turned to her sharply. "You are not a burden. I won't be the reason your people die. They will fight," he said. "Not for you alone, for what is right." She shook her head. "No, I won't let this become a war." That night, Maeve did not sleep. She packed quietly, moving with purpose. She left behind the few things she owned, keeping only her knife and the necklace Skyle had given her. Just before dawn, she stepped outside. He was already there. "I knew you would try to leave," Skyle said quietly. "I can't stay," she replied. "If they come, they'll burn everything. I won't be the cause of that." He stepped closer. "You are not the cause. You are the reason we fight." She swallowed hard. "I won't let anyone else die because of me." For a long moment, neither spoke. The air between them felt heavy, with everything left unsaid. Finally, Skyle reached out and placed something in her hand. A small carving. A bird with wings spread wide. "For protection," he said, "and remembrance." Her fingers closed around it. "I don't want to leave you." "Then don't leave your heart," he said quietly. "Just your body, for now." She looked up at him, eyes shining. "Will you wait?" He met her gaze without hesitation. "As long as it takes." Maeve stepped forward then, resting her forehead against his chest. The world felt unbearably fragile and impossibly strong all at once. When she finally turned away, she did not look back. The journey was long and dangerous. Maeve moved at night, hiding by day. She avoided towns, followed rivers, trusted instinct more than direction. Fear traveled with her, but so did determination. Weeks passed. She reached a small frontier settlement where no one knew her name or her past. There, she worked quietly mending clothes, helping in kitchens, tending children. She slept in a narrow room with a wooden floor and a single window. At night, she touched the scar on her back and reminded herself of who she was now. Not owned, not broken. Free word came months later, carried by a trader who had passed near the old lands. "The Red Mesa still stands," he said over supper. "Strong as ever. No one crosses them now." Maeve closed her eyes in relief. Later, a familiar figure appeared on the road one evening. Walking toward her with the easy stride she knew by heart. She knew before he spoke. "Hello, sunrise," Skyle said softly. She stared, breath caught in her chest. Then she ran to him, laughter and tears spilling out together. "You came." She whispered. "I promised," he replied. They stood there, the past finally behind them, the future wide open. This time, there was no fear, only choice, only love freely. Given. And so, the woman who had once been left for dead built a life not from pain, but from strength. Not from obedience, but from freedom. And in the wide open land beneath endless sky, she learned at last what it meant to belong not to someone else but to herself.